Hi, fourth graders. We are going to continue with front desk today. So make sure you are going to add an entry to your seesaw assignment today as well, right? We want to add one every day. So even though many of you maybe added a lot on Monday, our first day, you should have another one each day. If you need to add a page, go ahead and do that. And don't forget up here, some of you have forgot to put your title of your book that you're reading today. If you start a new book in the middle of the week, just add a page, and then you can start comparing and contrasting that book as well. So we are going to continue on. See if you can find a similarity in the middle or a contrast or a difference on the outside. I thought the whole point of having customers fill in their address was so that you could mail them their stuff back in case they left it behind, Mr. Yao said after the girl and her mom left. Wasn't that your idea? I couldn't speak. The humiliation had burned a hole in my tongue. I vowed never to talk to him again. My parents slipped back in through the back door and joined us. Where'd you guys go? Mr. Yao asked. You guys missed the whole thing. In all this excitement over the jeans, he had completely forgotten about the immigrants in room 6. I looked up at my mom and could tell from her face that they were safe. My mom would never know the price I paid for their safety. Jason knew. The whole time his dad was interrogating me, he had been looking out the window. He saw my parents knock on room 6's door. He saw them sneak the immigrants out of their rooms and out the back. He saw the whole thing. But he never said anything. And so she writes a letter. Dear Jason, thank you for not saying anything to your dad. I don't know why you didn't. Maybe you're not so bad after all. Your friend, nope, she crossed that out. She said, your classmate, Mia. She's not quite sure if they're friends yet. I stared at the last part. Maybe you're not so bad after all. My grandmother used to say that people don't change. Our heart is like a rubber band. It might stretch a little, but eventually it snaps right back. I'm not sure if I believe that. Part of me did. We were talking about Jason here, the same kid who took my pencil and licked it. The other part of me, though, really wondered. There used to be a time when I let my cousins walk all over me. They were all boys, and I was the only girl, and in China, girls are kind of like spare tires. It's nice if you have one, but they're not important. Even my grandmother, whom I loved and missed so much, believed this. She believed it like she believed the sky was blue. Like it was a fact. Girls were just not as useful as boys. She never came out and said this, of course, but she'd have little ways of showing it, like always putting the best dishes in front of my cousins at family dinners, and not me. She'd pat their heads and tell them to eat up before the dish got cold, and I'd watch as they snatched and grabbed the food with their greedy chopsticks until there were hardly any more pieces of chicken left for me, only burnt onions. One day, I picked up my chopsticks and started grabbing back. I snagged chicken, shrimp, whatever I could pick up with my chopsticks, and hoarded it all into my mouth. Hey, she complained. Shen complained. Not fair. We were close then, and I narrowed my eyes at him. As I picked up my chopstick to reach for more food, Shen blocked my chopstick with his. Our chopsticks collided like swords. The two of us held them in position, neither willing to back down. It went on like this the next night, and the night after that, and eventually our chopsticks war got so bad, my grandmother had to use her own chopsticks to draw a line in the food and declare one side mine and the other side Shen's. From then on, every dish had a line. I remember countless birthdays, Chinese New Year. Everything had a line. Then one day I looked down. The line was gone. My grandmother had forgotten to draw it, and I waited for Shen to take the first piece of chicken. I waited for Shen to take the first piece of chicken, and he waited for me. Neither of us grabbed, neither of us hoarded. Somehow we'd gone from food enemies to friends. Neither of us knew when it had happened. We just knew we no longer needed the line. I thought about that and how maybe people do change, as I thought about Jason. I didn't end up giving the letter to Jason. I was going to, but for some reason I just didn't. You know how sometimes you raise your hand, but when your teacher finally calls on you, you pretend you were only tucking your hair? It was kind of like that. All right, as the first of the spring flowers bloomed, we moved ahead now a little bit. As the first of the spring flowers bloomed, I tried to forget the painful memory of the jeans. It helped that I had Hank and Lupe to distract me, and the mailman. Every time he came, I thought about the contest. I thought, this is it. Today's the day my life is going to change. But the letter from Vermont didn't arrive. Other unexpected news did arrive, though, which completely shook up our world. Mr. Yao was selling the motel. My parents' faces turned white. The temperature in the room plummeted as Mr. Yao told them the news. A real estate deal for him in Nevada had gone bad, and he needed a cash injection. So, what does that mean for us? My parents asked him. You? Mr. Yao asked. He snorted, like we hadn't occurred to him at all, and then he shrugged. Depends on the new owner, what he wants to do with you. He said it like we were inventory, freely disposable along with the washer and the dryer. Lupe told me not to worry. Motels weren't like houses. They took ages to sell. There's a whole inspection process and everything, she said. I'm sure you guys are going to be out here I'm sure you guys are going to be out of here before Mr. Yao even finds a buyer. Have you told your parents about the essay contest yet? No, I said. I didn't know what it was about me. I didn't know what it was about me and secrets. Once I had one, I just couldn't let it go. I would feed it and snuggle it, and it would grow and grow inside me until it took on a life all its own. So no, I hadn't told my parents. I'd been too busy imagining the look of surprise on their face to actually surprise them with it. They're going to freak when you win, Lupe said, and with a smile. My parents did freak, but not over me winning the contest. They were freaking out over who the new motel owner was going to be. Oh God, what if he hates Chinese people? My mother asked, biting down on her nail. Or if he wants to run it himself, my father said. Should we look for another job? My mom asked. What should we do? My parents paced the living room, fretting and panicking while I sat in the corner. That was the problem with keeping a secret. You're all alone, on your own little island. Have you ever thought about how nice we own the motel? I asked. I just kind of threw it out there. My dad laughed. That would be nice, he said. He looked into the distance and let himself imagine, just for a second. We wouldn't have to work every single day. We could take Sundays off, together as a family. We could all go swimming, my mom added. I'd love to jump in that pool. Me too, I said. I'd love to get some sleep, my dad said. If we owned the motel, I could put up a sign that says, Sorry, I'm sleeping. Come back in the morning. A smile played at his lips as he pictured how extraordinary life would be if he could sleep through that night. Then his smile faded and reality set in. Yeah, maybe in another life, he said, picking up his broom. I shook my head. No, Dad, not in another life, I said, in this life. Our eyes locked. A second passed, and then another. And then I whispered my secrets. The next chapter is really short, so we're going to read it, okay? They didn't say a word at first. I thought perhaps they were too shocked. Sometimes when I'm too shocked, I can't speak either, and that's why I write things down, and even then, sometimes I can't bring myself to deliver them, like my thank you letter to Jason, which was just sitting there at the bottom of my backpack. I thought maybe my parents were just taking their time too, taking their time to find the right words, but then I looked up and saw my mother's disappointment. You're not going to win, she said. Her voice was certain, positive. She looked right at me, her eyes a mixture of pain and sadness. But not sad like, I'm sad you're not going to win. Sad like, I'm sad you actually thought you could win. I wanted to grab her and shake her. You're wrong, Mom. I'm not a bike. You'll see, I yelled. My mom put her hands on my arms. No, honey, she said. I mean, those sweepstakes are all rigged. The news slapped me across the face. For a second, I was fully blind, and then I flat out denied it. Oh, it's not rigged. No, of course not, my dad jumped in. But just think about it. Why would they just give away a motel like that? My mother asked. Because they're old, I said. They don't care about the money. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Have you ever seen anybody in this country do something out of the goodness of their heart? Well, the doctor who fixed you up, remember him? My mother's face softened. She didn't talk about the contest being rigged after that. Still, doubt lingered with me. What if she was right? Okay, so make sure you make an entry today, either a comparison in the middle or differences on the outside, and we'll get back to it again tomorrow.